A dedicated N64 module for your Polymega. That's exactly what Polymega is offering with their new module. But what if I told you this might be the best way of playing your Nintendo 64 games on modern televisions? Or what if this just ends up being a massive disappointment that fails on living up to its promises? Today, we're going to find out if this Ultra module for the Polymega actually lives up to the hype. I actually tested it with my massive collection of Nintendo 64 games. Well, not massive, but I've got a good amount. So what do I think? Is this better than an actual Nintendo 64? Let's put it to the test. Hey fellow gamers, welcome to Polygon Legends. I'm your host, Serge. So today, we're going to put the Polymega Ultra module to the test. It's the newest expansion by Polymagi, however you want to say it, I'm still not sure, that allows you to play your Nintendo 64 games on the Polymega. So if you're new to the channel, we focus on preserving retro gaming history, as well as finding the best way to enjoy our classic retro games in the modern era. And if you're enjoying this content, please help us reach our goal of hitting 50,000 subscribers by hitting that like button and subscribe. Yeah, I know I'm only at like 1,000 subscribers right now, but you know, a guy can dream. After spending 3 weeks with the Ultra module, testing it on my own personal collection, I've discovered some surprising things that might change how you view this device. Both good and both bad. For those who aren't familiar, Polymega launched a few years ago as a modular retro gaming system. Of course, I snatched one up. The base unit handles CD-based games like PlayStation and Sega CD and Sega Saturn, of course, and that's pretty much why I bought it, because I wanted to see if I could save all of my Saturn games on one device and PlayStation as well, and I thought the Polymega sounded great, so I went ahead and got one. They also have modules for the original Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. The Ultra module represents Polymega's expansion into 64-bit gaming. They are promising comprehensive Nintendo 64 compatibility. Now, as you know, the Nintendo 64 has traditionally been difficult to emulate properly, and it's been challenging to get it looking good on modern TVs. Now, at its price point, the Ultra module isn't cheap, but if you consider what original N64 hardware with RGB mods and modern display adapters would cost, the price might actually be justified. But only if it delivers on its promises. This matters because as our old CRTs die out and original Nintendo 64 hardware becomes harder to maintain, products like this could become essential for preserving our ability to play these games. But of course, only if they can replicate the authentic experience. So the first thing I noticed when I first unboxed it is that the Ultra module maintains the premium feel of the base Polymega system. The build quality is pretty solid, it's not creaky or cheap plasticky feeling, and it uses the same stackable design as the other modules, with the N64 cartridge slot positioned perfectly on top. I tested my entire collection of Nintendo 64 games, which covers a good mix of genres and technical demands. So how did they perform, you're wondering? Well, first-party Nintendo titles generally performed pretty good. Star Fox 64 ran pretty flawlessly. They had smooth frame rates and accurate colors. Paper Mario, one of the more technically advanced games in my collection, also performed remarkably well, with only minor hiccups during some battle transitions. When it came down to Rare's games, the results were kind of mixed. Perfect Dark, which pushed the Nintendo 64 to its limits, showed more pronounced performance issues, especially in complex areas with multiple enemies and effects. I also tried out some sports games, which were a surprising highlight. Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey, All-Star Baseball 2000, all ran perfectly. Racing games showed interesting variations. Wave Race 64 performed beautifully with water effects rendering perfectly. And Cruising USA suffered from audio sync issues during certain music tracks. I also tested a fan-translated Animal Crossing's hack that I have, and it actually ran quite perfectly, which suggests to me that this thing has good compatibility with homebrew games and modified content. So let's talk about technical performance, starting with responsiveness. In my experience, the Ultra module feels slightly less responsive than original hardware, but the difference is minor enough that most players won't even notice.
Flippy, get back here! Flippy, watch out! Don't be on your tail!
Whoa! Help
The Ultra Module provides several output options from pixel-perfect scaling to various filter attempts to create that CRT look. The image quality is generally excellent. We've got vibrant colors, sharp pixels. Playing Blast Corps and Star Wars Shadows of the Empire with the enhanced clarity was genuinely pretty cool. Means you don't need any external scalers or converters, which is a big advantage over the original hardware. Now let's address the elephant in the room, the price tag. Is it essentially worth it? If you were to buy an original Nintendo 64 in good condition, plus an RGB mod and a quality upscaler like the RetroTink to make it look good on modern displays, you'd easily spend a comparable amount, potentially more if you opt in for premium solutions like the N64 Digital. However, the Ultra Module doesn't completely replace original hardware in terms of 100% compatibility and authenticity. Games like Perfect Dark and some racing titles don't perform identically to original hardware. There's also a few competing solutions to consider. An original Nintendo 64 with an EverDrive 64 cartridge provides perfect compatibility with the entire library on original hardware. But at the same time, it requires additional investment for modern display compatibility. Unless, of course, you want to stay old school and you want to stick to CRT. PC emulation, on the other hand, offers excellent compatibility for free, but requires more technical knowledge to set it up properly. Okay, so the Ultra Module makes the most sense for collectors who want to preserve their original Nintendo 64 games but play them on modern displays with minimal fuss, casual retro gamers who value convenience over absolute authenticity, and it's great for people who already own other Polymega modules and want to expand their system. It's less ideal for purists who demand 100% accurate reproduction of the original experience, or budget-conscious gamers who only care about playing a handful of specific games, or if you already own a modified original Nintendo 64. After 3 weeks of using the Ultra Module alongside my original Nintendo 64, I've found myself reaching for it more often than I expected. The convenience of having instant access to my N64 library without swapping cables or adjusting display settings has made me revisit classics I haven't played in years. I was particularly impressed when I fired up Star Fox 64 and Wave Race 64. These games benefited tremendously from the sharper display output compared to the original hardware. The colors popped, the frame rate was rock solid, and it genuinely felt like the definitive way to experience these games on a modern display. So, is the Polymega Ultra Module worth the hype? I'm going to go ahead and say yes, with a few important caveats. The Ultra Module delivers on most of its promises. Compatibility is generally good across my Nintendo 64 library, with first-party titles and many sports games performing really well. The build quality is quite excellent, and the user experience is polished and intuitive. For many gamers, it's going to be amazing to play your classic N64 games with minimal fuss on modern displays. However, though, it's not perfect. Some technically demanding games like Perfect Dark still have a few issues, and the price is steep if you're only interested in Nintendo 64 games, because don't forget, you also have to buy the Polymega base unit as well for this to work. And the long-term durability remains an open question. If you primarily care about playing a wide variety of N64 games with minimal hassle and don't mind occasional imperfections, the Ultra Module is worth the investment. If you're someone who notices every frame rate drop or lag or slight performance difference, you'd still prefer the original hardware with some modern mods. For most retro enthusiasts in the middle, though, it comes down to how much you value convenience versus absolute authenticity, and whether or not you're already invested in the Polymega ecosystem. So, do you own the Ultra Module, or are you considering buying one? Let me know in the comments what your experience is. Also, let me know if you have any questions about any specific N64 games. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more retro gaming content. Next week, we're going to dive into the rise and fall of Sega's console business. You're not going to want to miss that. Thanks for watching Polygon Legends. Once again, I'm your host, Serge, and I'll catch you on the next one. Keep it retro, gamers.